So we get
Mhm.
a lot of requests for not how can I replace my existing personalization or recommendation system, more traditional machine learning approaches, which work very well, but can I augment that with generative
Mhm.
AI, which today I would say really more of an agentic approach, which incorporates generative AI into that. So spent a lot of time building out a system. And I think to your question, what did I learn? The first one, and it was part of the talk, is a majority of that system is not AI. A majority of that
Mhm.
system is kind of those mundane, how does the customer log in? How do I authenticate the customer? How do I load balance the requests? How do I store the customer data? So the first 80% of that system is not agentic. It's really more of a feature of the system that I can plug into the system to give it agentic capabilities. And I think that gets lost, right? As there's such hype around agentic AI and generative AI. You would think that that is the application, but the reality is that's more of a feature of the application, a smaller part of the entire application that you need to think about when you're developing, especially a new product. Um, but yeah, no, I think going through that process, I think I talked about the one example, right? Getting answers back and not
Mhm.
using the observability that I was collecting and the metrics that I was collecting, the telemetry, and then realizing, it's not actually calling the tools I think it's calling, or in some cases, it's using the LLM to try and answer it with its limited knowledge, with the context of the knowledge that the model had through its
Yeah.
training versus actually using the tools. And how do I instruct it to use the tools? And I think the one last thing, the one pattern which was interesting, and I haven't seen a lot around that yet, is I have two tools, and you're seeing this a lot often. There's always limits, right? There's token limits, there's number of call limits on a lot of these third-party tools. So I enabled it with two tools. Now, how do I load balance those two tools? I have two external sources of information. They're relatively the same, or maybe I'm using them within certain contexts. How do I direct the agent to use those tools in a particular way without dictating the order? So I think there's a lot of work around that, especially when you have a multi-agent agentic system, multiple tools, multiple MCPs, and there's definitely some coordination needs to happen through prompting and rules beyond just defining the tools.